Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I'd just like to say a very special morning to one and all, and thank you very much for being here for this very special occasion. And to let you know that we are awaiting the arrival of the Prime Minister. We beg your patience. In the meantime, all parents and students, we see it is indeed a joy to have you here this morning. It's going to be a very short program. It's all about the youngsters, this very important investment that's about to be made. We thank you for being here this morning, congratulating all the students who have come this far, and as we look forward to lay the foundation for you to go even further. Again, on behalf of all the directors, persons who have been working tirelessly over the years, all members of the Keith Mitchell Foundation, thank you very much for coming this morning to sharing these very, very special and important moments. Again, we await the arrival of the Prime Minister. As soon as he's here, which is moment, I've just been informed it's moments away, we will start the program. Again, thank you very much and good morning to you all. Ladies and gentlemen, please be informed that momentarily we will be graced with the presence of the Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please acknowledge the arrival and presence of our Prime Minister, the Honorable Keith Mitchell. Thank you very much. May I have your seats? In all we do, it's impressed upon us to seek the guidance, invoke the presence of a higher authority. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite Sister Juanita Berkeley to please come forward to invoke the Lord's presence and blessings over these proceedings here today. I invite you to please stand.
Let us bow our heads reverently. Loving God, we thank you for the gift of this new day and for all present here with us this morning. We ask you, Lord, for your special blessings on the members of the Keith Mitchell Foundation and in a special way, the many recipients of the scholarships. Bless these proceedings, Lord, and grant guidance and good success to all of our young people in their quest for a sound education. We ask this through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen.
I invite you to remain standing as we pay our respects to this beautiful country Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, with a rendition of the National Anthem performed by Cordell Byam, a member of the New Dimensions Steel Orchestra. Thank you very much. You may have your seats, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, Prime Minister, Sir Royston Hopkins, Dr. Elliot Maguire, Kent Mitchell, Ronald Charles, Jerome McQuilkin, all directors of the Keith Mitchell Foundation, and Lady Hopkins, the Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine, former Minister and Member of the Government of Canada, Her Excellency Cheryl Augustine Cano, Grenada's High Commissioner to Brussels, and Mr. Cano, Brother Robert Fanovich, featured guest speaker, past principal of the Presentation Brothers College, Mrs. Brenda Hood, representatives of the Ministry of Education, Sister Juanita Berkeley, Mr. Fred Antoine, Chairman, and other members of the KMF subcommittees, Dr. Pajwani and Mrs. Pajwani. My apologies if I pronounced it wrong. Thank you very much. Thumbs up. Thank you. Members of the media, awardees, parents, guardians, friends, well-wishers. It seems like only last month we were standing in this same facility, doing this same thing, and it was such a joy to be here again today, this time with 75 different faces, full of hope and expectation as they take the next step into their future, into their education. It's indeed so pleasing to be here. I would like to beg of you to please put your hands together for these 75 youngsters. And also to the parents and guardians who have done a fantastic job to this point. Please put your hands together for nurturing and carrying them this far. Normally I spend hours scripting what is to be said, but I've discovered with passage of time that sometimes it's just so nice to speak off the cuff when you genuinely speak from the heart. I think we have heard and we have seen so many things done for young people. I think this is one of the most important things I've seen in many, many years. It's an investment that is, I do believe that in the future we'll see great benefits from. And I think we should all congratulate the members, the efforts, the persons behind the Keith Mitchell Foundation. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, I would like to call upon Sir Royston Hopkins, someone who has done so much for young people. Besides this initiative, his own personal initiative, which is unbelievable. To spearhead, to be a part of this is really tremendous. And I think it gives me great pleasure to invite him at this point in time to make some brief remarks. Sir Royston, would you please come forward, sir?
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, Prime Minister, the Board of Directors of the Keith Mitchell Foundation. We have with us Mr. Ronald Charles, Dr. Jean Augustine, who is here, the Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine, who is here with us from Canada. She always does that annual pilgrimage to be here with us from the inception. And I want to thank you very much for taking time out, because I know although you are retired, you are doing a little more than you did when you were a member of Parliament in Canada. So we very much appreciate your being here with us. Also, Her Excellency Cheryl Augustine Cano and her husband, Mr. Cano. Cheryl is also the Grenada's ambassador to Brussels and in the European Commission. Cheryl, it's nice to have you here with us this year. And we're very pleased to have you here. And as I said, a daughter of Mrs. Dr. Augustine. Brother Robert Fanovich, the past principal of the Presentation Boys College, and he is going to be our featured speaker today. Mrs. Brenda Hood, chairman of the Tourism Authority, one who is known to all of us. She has had many positions in the government, and she now spearheads, I would say, the most important one in the island now, because the Tourism Authority guides, along with the Ministry of Tourism, where Grenada is heading in terms of our tourism sustainability and for the country. Representatives of the Ministry of Education, too many to mention. Sister Juanita Berkeley, Mr. Fred Antoine, chairman of the subcommittee. He is going to get his kudos with his members, but I want to thank Fred because we have a board of directors, but in this board of directors, Fred heads the subcommittee, and a lot of this is the coordination and the result in for Fred's involvement in the committee with his members. We have with us Dr. Parajani and Mrs. Parajani. I might be pronouncing it wrong. They are here to do a feature film on Dr. Augustine and on her life, and they are in Grenada, and we want to welcome you to this beautiful paradise of ours, and we wish you all the very best. Members of the media, we have a lot of members of the media here, and that would be including Mr. Richie Oliver and his whole team, who is here recording everything, and all the various photographers we have. Awardees, parents, guardians, friends, welcome. 3 years ago, Prime Minister Dr. Right Honorable Keith Mitchell asked me to chair the Keith Mitchell Foundation, along with a board of directors. I was only too happy because when he told me his vision for the Keith Mitchell Foundation, that vision crystallizes 110% of my belief. And my belief is that unless we educate and prepare you folks to take the mantle and the reins of our country, we will not get to where we would like to be. And I'm so happy to have been given the charge to chair, along with my board. We have Ronald Pappy Charles, Kent Mitchell, Dr. Augustine. We have Mr. Jerome, and you know, we have a fully functional board together. And what I want to emphasize is that this has not been an easy task, but nothing that is good is easy. And We started off in the first year, the board of directors, funding the Keith Mitchell Foundation ourselves for the first year, because we had to have some cash to sustain ourselves. And then we went off, and first year we did 50 grants only. Last year we did 75 grants only, a one-time grant. And last year when we had our fundraising dinner, I made a commitment that would have been the last time we are doing a grant, and that we would move to scholarships, a 5-year scholarship. That was my commitment last year with the board. But we've moved not to a 5-year scholarship, to a 7-year scholarship. Because we want to ensure that when you go through secondary school, you're able to go to T.A. Marshall College and do your A-levels or whatever you refer to it as, your first degree, to be able to qualify for government scholarships. Because government has unbelievable amount of scholarships. In my day as a young person, and I'm just letting you know how lucky you are. In my day, you had one island scholarship. You had no scholarships to any schools, and the only people that went to study overseas were the sons and daughters of the plantation owners and the doctors and lawyers. Those were the only people who had an opportunity. Everybody else like Dr. Mitchell and a lot of others, Dr. Augustine, had to fend their way through their colleges and studying to be where they are today. But today, folks, we are providing you with the opportunity. A lot more is going to be said. Don't take it for granted. Because today, we're in a different world. You're in a high-tech world. Today, as someone said the other day, soon all of you are going to have a computer or you're going to have a laptop, and that's where you're going to be doing all your work. You're going to be going to libraries. Your library is going to be the brain of your laptop, and that's where you're going to get all your information. And you can get limitless information. So you have an opportunity, 75 of you today, for the first time in the Keith Mitchell Foundation, you have an opportunity to get 7 years of education. Don't take that light. That is serious. I've been doing this since 1992. And this year I was proud that one of my early scholarship winners is now qualified as a doctor. And that she is now, as I said, I want you to listen. One of my scholarship winners is now, have recently qualified as a doctor, and she's doing her internship at the General Hospital today. So the world is your oyster. Take it from me. So I'm just saying a few remarks this morning because there are lots of other speakers behind. But I can't close without thanking the Prime Minister, Dr. Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, for giving me and us this responsibility to chair this foundation. And we've made this move because this year we worked on a lot of corporations in the country, because you can't raise $5 and $10 to be able to do what we are doing, because these are long-term commitments which involves hundreds of thousands of dollars at the end of the day once we are continuing. But fortunately, we are working on a lot of the corporations in Grenada, which is known to you as corporate social responsibility. And we've got a very good feedback, and we will continue to do it, because once we continue this scholarship program, It just galvanizes and it involves serious, serious overheads. So knowing fully well, before I close, I want to tell you, don't take it for granted. You have a golden opportunity, and I'm appealing to your parents. You are the guardians. You have to guide your kids accordingly to ensure that they have to have their free time. They've got to be involved, but you have to make sure peer pressure does not get them on the other side where they don't perform and they're not productive. Because without a proper education, you are not going to be able to take your reins and get and the opportunities that are out there for you with hundreds of scholarships, which this government of Grenada gives to all students that excel. So once again, Master of Ceremonies, Chairman, I want to thank you all, and it's my pleasure to have been able to address you here this morning. Thank you.
Sir Royston, thank you very much. Sir Royston did indicate and endeavor to give a slight overview of the works of the Keith Mitchell Foundation, but I would like to invite Ms. Hermione Griffith, who will give a more in-depth overview of the work of the foundation, giving you a better appreciation of the excellent work that they have been doing. Would you please put your hands together for Ms. Hermione Griffith?
Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, Sir Royston, Dr. Elliot Maguire, Kent Joseph, I don't believe he's here as yet, Mr. Ronald Charles, Mr. McQuilkin, who is off island, and Lady Hopkin, the Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine, former Minister and Member of the Government of Canada, Her Excellency Cheryl Augustine Kanu, Grenada's High Commissioner to Brussels and Mr. Kanu, Brother Robert Fanovich, featured speaker and past principal of the Presentation Brothers College, Mrs. Brenda Hood, representatives of the Ministry of Education, Sister Juanita Berkeley, Mr. Antoine, Chairman, and other members of the subcommittee of the Keith Mitchell Foundation, Dr. Pajwani and Mrs. Pajwani, members of the media, awardees, parents, guardians, friends, well-wishers. My duty today is to provide a brief overview of the Keith Mitchell Foundation and its importance to our nation's youth. Coming after Sir Royston, I mean, it's kind of tough when you have to follow your boss and such a, illustrious speaker, but I'll try to do my best. The watchword of the Keith Mitchell Foundation Incorporation is education. Acting on its founder, Dr. the Honorable Keith Mitchell's mantra, the foundation's focus is to provide support to young people who face economic difficulties that desire good education. The foundation motto is, education is a ladder of success with which the economically disadvantaged can gain an advantage. Through this foundation, there is a hope that the dignity and quality of life of needy individuals and families in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique will be enhanced. As you heard Sir Royston mention moments ago, for the first 2 years, the foundation offered a one-off grant scholarship to 75 students from across the nation. Knowing Sir Royston, he always liked to put his staff and everybody else at a challenge. So last year, Sir Royston decided to give the directors and the subcommittee a new challenge. He recognized that the one-off grant was insufficient to create an impact. So his challenge was to stimulate the directors to move the fund in a new direction where we will be able to offer a more substantial program. Hence, this new initiative to offer a 7-year scholarship each to 75 awardees. This, we think, will give comfort to parents and students who wish to take full advantage and go all the way to T.A. Marisho Community College, putting them on a better track for future scholarships, as Sir Royston mentioned. Now, each of you today will receive an opportunity. The foundation hopes that you will cherish it and make really good use of it. Being the coordinator of the Sir Royston Hopkins Scholarship Program for the past 17 years or so, I am heartened when I see the successes of the students who would have started just as yourselves. And when I go into certain business places, the banks, the hospitals, the government offices, members of the media, and you see them behind a desk offering me a service, sometimes I do everything to hold back the tears. When I see how they have grown, and as Sir Royston mentioned, I am so proud of Dr. Vonda Thompson, and I will speak of her briefly, because she started with a scholarship when she was 12, and she pushed herself, and we are so proud of her. I walked into the hospital when my mother was admitted a few months ago, and Dr. Vonda Thompson was her doctor. I felt really proud that a small gesture like this, like what Sir Royston is doing and what Dr. Mitchell is doing, can impact so heavily on the lives of individuals. The board is managed by the stewardship of our celebrated Sir Royston Hopkins, owner of the world-renowned Five Diamond Resort, Spice Island Beach Resort, and an assembly of directors to include our very own Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine, former minister and member of the Canadian government, educators, doctors, strategists, and astute businessmen. A word to the parents today and some guidelines to the parents and students. Parents, you would receive in your pack some guidelines of which we would appreciate your strictest and fullest cooperation. Each year, the student should strive to attain a pass mark of 65% or over in terms examination to maintain their placement on the scholarship program. Exceptions will be made in cases of illnesses or extenuating circumstances that resulted in a child being absent or away from school. We would appreciate if a letter certified by a medical practitioner be sent to the Keith Mitchell Foundation using the PO box so that we understand and appreciate why the child was absent. Progress card and report books. We would like for at least to have the progress card and report books reported to us so that we can monitor the children's progress. Sometimes if you wait until the ending of the year, you aren't able to catch things that you could have caught in the first term so that you could remedy it moving forward. So we would like for you to cooperate by just copying the report cards at the end of the term and sending it on to us. Communication with the schools. And when I speak in our program about how active I am with the students and the school, sometimes you see the students kind of get a little frightened because they aren't aware that I often call the schools to just check up on them. So the foundation will make periodic calls to the school. Where necessary, there will be meetings with teachers and principals with regards to attitudes, application, and overall deportment of the student. We wouldn't just give you the scholarship and just send you off. We want to ensure that we follow through to ensure that 75 of you remain successful. At this event every year, the students will be notified of the date and location of the presentation, and we expect you to attend in full school uniform. So next year we will see all of you in your secondary school uniforms, right? The parents will receive vouchers totaling easty $500, and of course you will present your ID to us as you have done so that we understand that the parent is the right parent. A vote of thanks will be delivered towards the end of the program. However, I will not be fulfilling my duties thoroughly should I not give special consideration to the following. And I have to go back to work with Sir Royston today. So if I miss this, I might not be able to enter the gates. Mr. Richie Oliver and his team at T&R Communication for the excellent PA system, and most importantly, for the live streaming of today's event. This was done as a voluntary support in the support of the Foundation's initiative. Mr. Oliver and your team, I thank you. He did not hesitate when I asked him. It was okay, Homia, no problem. Just send me the details. So too is this gentleman to my left, Dwayne. Well, I often call in Dwayne for anything and everything that I have, and I can't remember him saying no, except if it's a Saturday, which is his Sabbath. So, of course, he has an excellent relationship with Sir Royston and the hotel. So, of course, he's given off his time voluntarily. Again, Dwayne, I thank you. The competent and hardworking team at the Ministry of Education that was responsible for reaching out to the schools, gathering the information, sorting the forms, and choosing out the students following the criteria that is set by the Foundation. So a special thanks to Mr. Stroud and his other members of the Ministry of Education team. The diligent and dedicated subcommittee members headed by Mr. Fred Antoine, who is going above and beyond service. So we want to thank Mr. Antoine, Mr. Esmond Whiteman, Mr. Albert Williams, Mr. Ronna Mitchell, Tanasha Liebert, who is not officially a committee member, but I think by now we could add her in as a committee member because she's been with the Foundation ever since and she's always ever present. Special recognition to Ms. Bernadette Cobb, who sits behind the scenes, work behind the curtains. Sincerest gratitude for keeping the cogs together and for your excellent administrative support. Mr. Troy Garvey, I've never heard him turn us down yet. Thank you, Mr. Troy Garvey. Mr. Bedeau and the dedicated Trade Center team. Mr. Patrick David and the Island Catering team. Cordell Byam for beautifully executing the National Anthem this morning. Cordell is not much older than some of you, and he's actually the arranger of the New Dimension Steel Orchestra, the 2019 Panorama champion and bomb tune champions. Last minute, we got a huge commitment from the Silver Sands. Through Sir Royston's persuasiveness, Mr. Soares and Mr. Fakri has agreed to donate a substantial amount to the Keith Mitchell Foundation. So we would like to thank Silver Sands for their last-minute huge contribution. And we also have a private individual, Mr. Suresh Karnani, who also agreed in principle with Sir Royston to donate almost as equal a contribution as Silver Sands has. So my boss, although he is, sir, can I say what your age is? Can I say your age? My boss is 74.9 years young. He's a few months shy of 75. And sometimes with my age, I really try hard to keep up with him. But the drive that he has for the Keith Mitchell Foundation and for education of young people, I don't think is unmatched by anybody. So those are my brief overview. Of course, we have other committee members at the back. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know, but I would bore you no further and hand you back over to the Master of Ceremonies.
Hamian, thank you so very much. It's just so important. It's so touching, the importance of this ceremony and ceremonies and occasions like these. And I was also privileged to have inside information of what Sir Royston does with his program, and being fortunate over the past 2 years to see what's happening here and understanding the vision is just so important for not just the 75 youngsters here, but for our country as we prepare for the next generation. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, it's important that I invite our featured guest speaker. He's a former principal of the Presentation Brothers College, a brother, someone who is very active on the tennis court. I'm sure he was there some during the early hours of this morning, getting his early morning sweat, preparing himself for this very important function here today. Parents, youngsters, I beg of you to pay close attention to his utterance here this morning. It gives me a great joy to invite Brother Robert Fanovich to address you.
Thank you very much, Troy. I want to stand on protocol already being established. Good morning, everybody, and I ask your patience to our specially invited guests. I am now addressing the youngsters, and I asked Richie to help me with the technology. So, Richie, is the microphone ready by the speaker? Yeah. Okay, I didn't communicate with Sir Royston, but it's interesting that you mentioned technology. As they move into a highly technological age, there's some words of caution that I'd like to bring to your attention and also to the parents. So I put together a very, very short presentation here, which I hope you would find interesting. I certainly learned a lot from it. And I want to just sort of talk about good attitudes and bad attitudes, because you can do very well academically, young people, and parents take note, but you have a bad attitude, and you go into the workforce and you're lazy, or you don't like the work, or you're disrespectful, and so on, then your education has come to naught. So I just want to give you briefly 2 attitudes I'm going to show you, and pay close attention. A good one and a bad one. Okay? So that's the bad one that I'm going to address, and a good one. Now, I don't know if some of you know, I certainly learned a lot about this game, Fortnite. Students, how many of you have played that game before? Could I see your hands, please? Put it up, don't be afraid. Okay, a few of you. And I want parents to take note, to be very careful about the game, not just this video game, but other video games, that this is a bad attitude that could develop. This company made $1 billion last year in profit. Now, what I found amazing with this company is that the game is for free. So you may ask yourself, how does this company make profit? I was certainly, let's have a look, before I give you the answer, a little bit of this game called Fortnite. I want you to look very carefully at the young man and how enthusiastic he is on the left-hand side of the screen.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! No way! No way, bro! I'm taking you on. Hold on. Something's going to happen. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. No. No. Wait. Keep waiting. This is literally like the movie Pacific Rim. Come on. You guys can do this. Please, man. Go ahead. Take him out. Take him out.
Good. I couldn't help but notice how transfixed the young people were on the screen. And so the game is free. Parents, I'm talking to you. But the company makes money by selling what they call V-Bucks. You can buy this money online. And what do you think the young people spend the money on? Well, they buy things like for their characters before they go into battle, new dance moves, a new outfit for their warrior of choice, and taunts for their characters. I just want to give you about 10 seconds of what they buy. Now, this is so new to me. It's a new generation. I cannot believe that people would spend money online to buy a new outfit for their character or a new dance move. I want to show you just about 10 seconds of what young people today spend money on that raises over $1 billion for this company. Just have a look at what they spend it on. Okay, you get the idea. And that's how the company makes money, by selling those little taunts and so on. I'm going to get back to that, but I want to show you, I will be the voice of this is a true story of a boy who was seeking a job. So a boy was in a store one day, and he took out his mobile, and the store owner nearby was listening to this very interesting conversation. Okay? So the boy said to the lady on the other side of the phone, he says, "Mommy, good morning. Can you give me the job of cutting your lawn?" The lady says, "No, thank you." The lady says, "You called yesterday and I already told you I have somebody to cut the lawn. Don't bother me again." The boy says, "Ma'am, I will cut your lawn for half the price that the other person is doing and is charging you right now." Lady says, "I'm very satisfied with the person who is presently cutting the lawn." The boy was more persistent. He said, "Look, ma'am, I will cut your lawn. I will even sweep the floor and the stairs of your house for free." And he says, "Ma'am, guess what? I'll even water your plants for free. I'd really, really want that job." The lady says, "No, thank you. I already have a boy cutting my lawn." With a smile on his face, the youth put the receiver down, and the store owner, who was listening to all of this, walked over to the young man and said to him, he says, "Young man, I like your attitude and your positive spirit. I want to give you a job in this store." The boy says, "No, thank you. I don't want the job." So the store owner was a bit surprised. He says, "But you're really begging this woman for a job. How you mean you don't want a job now?" He says, "Sir, I was just checking on something. You see, sir, I am the one who is working for that lady I was just talking to." Now, they have some very interesting considerations here. The question is, why do you think the boy disguised his voice and called the woman who he was working for. Any of you have any ideas, young people? Why do you think he disguised his voice? Why did he call the woman? Anybody has any ideas? Yes, in the back? Yes? Okay. Anybody else? In the interest of time, it is called self-appraisal. He wanted to know for himself how good he was. He wanted to hear from the woman how good he was. He was evaluating himself. Okay? And the other question for you parents, as Sir Royston said, we are moving into a high-tech age, and very soon I'm pretty sure a lot of you will be with your iPads and your laptops and so on. And there's a danger in that you have these high-tech devices, and in the privacy of your room, and sometimes at lunchtime and recess time, you use it for the wrong purposes, and it could be counterproductive. And parents have to be very vigilant about that. You can't hand a 12, 13-year-old a device like that with free Wi-Fi and say, you're responsible enough. They could get hooked on video games. They could get hooked on many other things. The dangers for the boy playing the video game is that he could become addicted. I think one of their biggest dangers as well is that he could become very lazy. He could live in a fantasy world where he thinks he is achieving so much. Like that boy was going to kill the monster. And he's saying to himself, I am doing this for humanity and for my country. I am serving my country by getting rid of this monster. And it is all make-believe. They stay in their rooms day after day and they do absolutely nothing for their country. They don't serve their country. They don't serve themselves. They become useless citizens in society. So we have to be very careful. Okay? And what qualities do you think the boy had that made the woman who employed him so satisfied? If we had more time, I would ask maybe one or two responses. What qualities you think this boy had that the lady was so happy that she employed him to cut his lawn? He was He was respectful. I am sure he was very hardworking. He was committed. I am sure he turned up for work early every day. On time. I am sure he did a very thorough job. I am pretty sure that she kept him on because if she says, cut this little piece of grass, he did more than she asked him to do. He didn't just do what he was asked to do. He did more. And he had a pride in what he did. Always take a pride in what you do. Okay? It must have a stamp of perfection. And this question, if you notice, this question here, what qualities should students have that would make them succeed in school, is the same qualities that this little boy had working and cutting the grass. Okay? He's committed. He's hardworking. He has a pride in what he is doing, and he wants to do it to perfection. So I want, as you get this scholarship, and thank God for the benefactors of this wonderful program, that you don't take it for granted, that you try your best. That's all they're asking. Try your best. Put your stamp of perfection in everything that you do. Because when you graduate from school, you're going to transfer those attitudes into the workplace. It just doesn't happen overnight. It starts now. Okay? I want to end by saying, just remember this. You will not receive more from God if you do nothing with what He has already given you. God will not give you more if you don't do anything with the gifts, develop the gifts that you have, or if you use your scholarship wisely, God is going to give you more. Thank you very much.
Brother Fanovich, thank you very much for your inspiring thoughts here this morning. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to invite Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell, the benefactor, to make some brief remarks. I know he's excited about this, looking forward to this. Would you please put your hands together and welcome.
Thank you, Troy. Of course, our distinguished chairperson for today's very important session. Sir Royston and members of the board of directors and Lady Hopkins, of course, my dear sister Griffith, who's really the one we all make contact with concerning this important foundation. Dr. Augustine, my cousin, and of course her daughter and ambassador, Grenada's ambassador to Brussels and the European Union. Our featured speaker, that really was a very special featured speaker. And you know what's good about it? Sometimes you hear about featured speaker, you're looking for a lot of words, big long words, big sentences, short, to the point. I hope you guys and girls, you hope you got the message. Did you all get the message that was sent today? Did you all get the message? I hope you remember that throughout your entire life. Other distinguished members here this evening, this morning, and of course, awardees, parents and guardians, all. As the chairperson said, I will be short, but the most important point I want to make is this. This idea of the foundation was born out of the understanding that I have and those close to me have about our responsibilities, those of us who are in certain positions and have achieved certain things in our lives should always remember that we have a fundamental responsibility to the future generations of our country. Therefore, in my view, that all leaders, whether it's business, churches, sports, politics, former heads of state, former prime ministers, all of us have a fundamental responsibility. I have seen the results of the foundation of Sir Daniel and Lady Williams over the years of what they have done and the amount of students that they have helped. I have seen Sir Royston and his role in the business community and the contributions that they have made with Lady Hopkins to the development of our country in so many different areas. I also remember, my dear little brothers and sisters, that where I came from. I always remember the struggles to get to school. I always remember these good people who helped out. My brother is a member of the foundation. He knows the story. And our struggles made us realize this, that we have a fundamental responsibility to help others. And I always want to remember this. That's why the story of Brother Robert is so important. That you have to always remember, life story is not an easy one. It's not easy. And you don't give up easily. The story of the second boy is crucial to remember. In other words, when you meet challenges, you beat it. Don't give up. That's the story of people who have succeeded. And therefore, I want to tell you the story of this lady you see sitting in front here, Dr. Jean Augustine. That's why I deliberately did not recognize her in the opening salvo. Her story is an important one for you to know. She left here years ago. If she wants to tell you when, that's her business. I'm not going to tell you when. And she went to Canada as a domestic, working in people's home after coming from a secondary school in Grenada. And her literal mother was my grand aunt, so we are cousins. And her grand aunt never had an education. She could not read or write. So as a young boy, I was a sort of favorite of that grand aunt. When she wrote the grand aunt from Canada, she called me 9 years, 10 years to read the letter, and I had to write the reply. That's an important story, you know. She moved from those positions. Today, she became a member of parliament and a minister of government of the great country called Canada. In other words, you could start one place, but you could reach all kinds of heights. It is only you to stop yourselves. Sometimes when I tell my own son about the struggles, he said, "Daddy, tell me another Tim Tim." For many of the young people, our stories sound like Tim Tim indeed. It will sound like Tim Tim because they have no understanding of what those struggles were. So, I'm very supportive of the idea that while you receive this enormous support today, that you have to be responsible. One of the things that we cannot afford to do as leaders in all such parts of the society is to make those we're responsible for so dependent on us that we don't make sure that they're responsible to themselves. So you can get help, but you must also help yourself. So performance throughout school, Sister Griffith has said to you, she's calling, not because she wants to look and follow what you're doing every day. That's a lot of work. Not because she wants to do that, but she wants to support you to ensure that you succeed. So don't treat this lightly. I am so happy this morning to be part of this noble session here this morning. And I say to you, when I leave this job as Prime Minister, my big interest is making the foundation reach a higher level of supporting scholarships to universities and colleges. In other words, to the next stage, because that is also has to be an ambition of every single one of you. The more educated you have, the better you are, the better you are prepared for the challenges of your own life. So don't treat this lightly. To all of you who are foundation members, I want to thank you for your contribution, your sacrifice, a lot of sacrifice. They're all busy, hard-working people. Thank you all, and to say that this is another very important day in my life. Thank you all. All the best to the rest.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. As we continue the program, There's a common thread, and it's something I would like to draw to the attention of the parents, especially. And after our next presenter, I will bring it, crystallize it some more for you. There's a common thread here. But at this time, I'd like to invite the Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine. You have heard of our path, and it's indeed a pleasure having her here again this year. Would you please put your hands together for this distinguished lady?
Merci beaucoup. Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Chairman, all protocols observed. I will begin to speak to the students, to the boys and girls who are before me, because I think it's important for you to know that all of us who have assembled here today, your parents, the committee members, and the general Grenadian community are all standing behind you right now, saying to you, well done, saying to you, you are the future of this country, and you will play a major part in the world. Grenadians, wherever we are, whether it's in the United States, in Europe, in Asia, in Canada, Grenadians are always at the top of their game. They are the professionals, they are the academics, they are the environmentalists, they are in medicine everywhere. Grenadians travel away from this island. They have always excelled. And I always talk about the good educational system that there is in Grenada. And I talk about the teachers in Grenada who are committed to ensure that the students who come through their classrooms are well prepared for the world. I started in Happy Hill School, sitting on the floor in front of teachers in very crowded classrooms. I went on to, we used to call it Mother Rose School, St. Louis Girls RC School. And I got a scholarship from there to go to St. Joseph's Convent. And from St. Joseph's Convent, I started after my Cambridge Overseas School Certificate. I'm not too sure what it's called these days. Same? Oxford and Cambridge Overseas School Certificate, A-levels. I started teaching. Because in those days, there weren't a whole lot of occupations for young people coming out of school. If you wanted something beyond high school, you had to go away from the island. UWI was just cranking up and starting little substations in the Barbados and Trinidad. If you wanted to be a teacher, you had to go through just teaching with a master teacher helping you along, waiting to go to, I think it was Barbados for Teachers College. So we didn't have the names that are dropped these days. I hear about the T.A. Mary Show and the St. George's University and other places. There were no such things on the island at the time. And so when the opportunity came to leave the island for employment and also for post-secondary education, I took that opportunity. And that opportunity carried me to Canada, where I worked in the home of a Canadian family in return for landed immigrant status. And then, of course, with the education that I had here in Grenada, and the preparation. And you heard a lot about hard work, commitment, respect, all of those things that I learned here in Grenada. Those things carried me through in Canada. And so I went to Teachers College. Then I went on to get my BA, my bachelor's in education, my master's in education, my PhD. And right now I have 7 doctorates. The top universities in Canada have all given me honorary Doctor of Laws. Doc, you would be surprised to know that the joke is, do we call you doctor, 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 doctor? But it is what I learned here. It's a hard work. It's a commitment. It's the respect. It's the knowing exactly who you are, speaking up at the right time, holding opinions, but holding opinions based on facts, based on research, based on respect for the opinion of others. And so what I want to say to you, and I'll be sitting down in a minute, what I want to say to you is, I traveled the road exactly maybe as some of you did. I know what it was to not have money for school uniform. I know what it felt like when the convent introduced a hat at the time, some kind of a hat that we were supposed to wear, and they gave a date by which we had to have those hats, and we didn't have the money to get me the hat, and being called out by the principal, by the teachers, because I didn't have it on time. I know what it is, parents, to want the very best for your children, to want the very best in terms of their education, and to see them make their way in the society. But I also know that parents have a responsibility to love your children, to support your children, to be there when the children need that support and need to have you around, and to ensure that they are participating members of the society. When I was growing up at your age, I knew how important it was to get out there and to vote, to talk about voting, because at the time, it's only people who were within a certain, owned the property or had a certain income level or a certain profession could vote. We didn't have everybody being able at a certain age to get out there and vote. And it was so important, and it is now so important, for you to understand what's happening in the world, to listen to the news. From the time I came, I've been going through all the channels on the television station looking for a Grenada channel with Grenada news to know what is happening. And I've seen a lot of replay of your carnival, but I haven't seen a lot of news. And that is so important too, that we watch, we understand the political system. I became a member of parliament because I wanted to make a difference for the community in Toronto where I lived, for the constituency in which I lived, and for African Canadians in Canadian society. I was a black woman, and I wanted to make sure that the history of African people was known in that multicultural, multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-religious Canada. And so one of the first and early motions that I got in the Parliament of Canada asked that all Canadians, all institutions in Canada recognize February as Black History Month in Canada. And that all schools would have curriculum, would have modules that spoke about the history of African Canadians. And interestingly enough, last week and the week before, I was in the country Ghana. How many of you know where Ghana is? Ghana. Ghana? How many of you have heard of Ghana? Okay, so now you have homework. Go and find Ghana on the map of Africa. And Ghana is saying to us, and a number of the African countries are saying to us, come back. It's 400 years since people of African descent were taken out and taken away from Africa. And then they were offering free land to come back. We want to get, and we want to have, and we want to see people of African descent making their place in the world. And you'll do it. It's possible that you would be an outstanding leader. You would be an outstanding person who would make a difference. Because this scholarship will enable you not only through your high school education, but will enable you to go much, much further in the world. The world is a very small place right now. It was different when I was growing up. We didn't have CNN and we didn't have all these things that you can get immediate knowledge about things happening in different places. So the world now is very small and you will travel the world, but remember the education that you get in this country, the individuals in this country who care about you, who provide and who ensure that you have the means to get a good education. I have with me, as you heard, my daughter who is now representing Grenada in Europe and her husband. But I also have another daughter. We don't want to miss that other daughter. Valerie is right here standing by the camera in the blue dress. And she's been very much engaged in helping us and the committee with some of using the skills and talents that she has in computer technology and whatnot to help us along with some of the written material that you would be getting. And I have two grandsons who are also here, your age, and one a little younger, 10 and 16. So again, I'm making sure that they know Grenada, that they know you, and that we all support this island that we're so very proud of. Canadians are very proud of Jean Augustine. And I'm not saying this because I want to be vain. I'm saying this because I am both what is called the messenger and the message for Canada. I am the messenger because as a minister and as a member of parliament, I can take Canada's message to the world. But I am also the message because it says this is what Canada is about, that you can come from whatever place, wherever, whatever means, and you can make it in a country and you can be at the highest level in that country. So I'm both the messenger and the message. At the same time, it's very motivating for African Canadians to see that it could be done, because I was the first Black woman to be elected to the Parliament of Canada. First. And not only was I the first black woman, but I was also the first Grenadian woman to be elected to the Parliament of Canada. And so they're doing a documentary now to tell my story so that it could be motivating to others. And it's going to be an international story. So you hear the name Dr. Panjwani and Mrs. Panjani and Fahim and whatnot. There's a little crew, documentary crew, that's following me around trying to get snippets for this documentary, this film, that is going to be telling the story of Grenada, the story of a young black girl who sat on the floor in Grenada and made her way to the Parliament of Canada and made her way to the highest place in the land. And that's the message for you. You can do it. You can do it. There is much expectation on the part of all of us in the committee that you will do well. And we want you to take this seriously. We gave some words and we hope that you'll keep those words. And that is, you have to do well, you have to achieve, you have to keep your marks up, you have to go to school, you have to go on time, you have to be respectful, you have to have reports, and then we go the next year with you. So it's not we getting this now and then that's it. You have to show us that you are, and show the teachers and the principals who selected you and your parents that you have it in you to be the best that you can be. So, congratulations to each and every one of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please put your hands together again for Dr. Weston. The point was made so abundantly clear here today. And I'd like to address just briefly the parents. Just look around. The National Anthem was played by Cordial Bayam, a youngster. He was the top arranger for the New Dimensions and won the Panorama. He was better than the likes of James Clarkson, who have been doing it for 40 odd years, all of the youngsters sitting right in the back. Just stand, Cordial. Put your hands together, please. Stand, please. The persons you have heard speaking here this morning is very important. I'm speaking directly to the parents. Dr. Mitchell, his brother Ken, I made the point last year. From very humble beginnings. I wish you'd have a conversation with their mother. What did this lady do from humble beginnings in Happy Hill to produce two of the most brilliant minds this country have ever seen? And all here now given back. Sir Royston Hopkins did not just got up one morning and got a 6-diamond top resort ranked among the best around the world. He worked hard, put everything into it, saw the results. All persons here from very humble beginnings who have made it to the very top. And parents, I would like to challenge you to use these persons as examples for your youngsters. We don't have to go on always on the YouTubes or on the news. They are right before us right here. You heard the story of Dr. Augustine, a domestic in someone's home in Canada, rising to the ranks of being the first elected parliamentarian, black female parliamentarian, and not just from Canada, but from tiny Grenada. What a story this can be. And that is the example. That is what is before you here right now. And parents, I urge you to spend a moment and think deeply about it, because it is so touching and is so rewarding to have that kind of resources available to you and investing in you and your children at this point in time. As we say, it's not just a grant, it's an investment, first and foremost, in you, the children, and in the country, Grenada, Carriacou, and Pili Martinique. Again, I'd like you to put your hands together for all the distinguished persons who have spoken here today. Now, kids, it's about you to receive your scholarships. We like to ask the media to just slightly step to the side because I've been informed that the parents will be coming around to accompany their kids as they come forward to receive. And it is so touching. It's not just a one-off grant. It's a scholarship, an investment in you, an opportunity to assist you as you move forward. And it's often said to both the parents and to the students, as much is given, as much is expected. And you're the first 75 lucky persons, and I hope you pave the way. You lay the foundation for this to continue and grow. Next 4 or 5 years, we want to see, as we spoke of doctors and lawyers and persons who have stepped up from these programs, we sincerely hope that you will be a part of them. At this time, I would like to invite to make the first set of presentations Her Excellency Cheryl Augustine Cano, our High Commissioner to Brussels. She will come forward to make the first set of presentations. And it's done in alphabetical order. And I will call the last name first. And we invite the parents to come forward along with the students to receive. Aberdeen Charles Natia. Atia comes forward with her parents. Would you please put your... Thank you very much. Kyron Alexander. Kyron Alexander. Kyron, please step forward. Who is here with Kyron? His parent, guardian. That's mommy that's coming. We'd like the parents to just come forward. Cherise Alexander. Just a second, she'll be joined by mommy. Just want to ensure we have the photo opportunities.
I'm going to go with the child, and there's a few absentees I'll indicate.
Yeah. Cherise Alexander. Please put your hands together. This is a very important moment. Thank you very much. Molly Alexander. Where's Molly? There's a big smile. Alex Austin. Daniel Austin. We'd like the parents to please come forward. Let the parents please come around to do it a bit faster. The parents please come around. And we'll ask the photographers to take the shots a bit faster for us, please. Zania Belfon. Zania Belfon. Adab Bruno. Adab Bruno. I hope I have. Adab Bruno. Yeah. Duan Brathwaite. Andiana Bubba. Tamir Caesar. And she's accompanied by her dad. Last year we had one father. Last year we had one father being present. So far I've seen two. Shanique Charles. Aria Charles. Smile, Aria. Phil Charles. Again, we've seen another dad, the importance of the father. Joel Clement. Renisha Klein. She's not here. We are sure that the presentation will be made to her later. Tamia Courtney. Sean Duncan. Sean Duncan. Dickon Ferguson. Owen Fleming. Yeah.
Person.
Me to get.
The lady's coming. She can't see too well.
But she already. That's it. The parent of Dickon Ferguson. Owen Fleming. Owen Fleming. Ambassador, thank you very much for affording us the opportunity to make the presentations here. Thank you very much. We now like to invite Director Ronald Charles. Please come forward to make the following presentations. Esther Fletcher. She is followed by Marissa Fortune. Rashad Francois. Cameron Fraser. Ruth Fraser. Shaquan Frederick. Leah Galway. Smile. Smile. She's very shy. Jean George. Kithara Goddard. Benil Gonzalez. Benil Gonzalez. Christy Griffith. Christy Griffith. Janai Jaldu. Alia James, Leona Jerome, Tamisha John, Jada Lashington, Siobhan Lewis, Kizia Lewis, Devontae Lewis, Brianna Mahone, Director Charles, thank you very much, sir, for your cooperation in assisting in making the presentations. Thank you. I would now like to invite Director Kent Mitchell to please come forward to make the following batch of presentations. Kishon Marcel. Ashel Mason. Nathan Matthews. Tyrone Matthews.
Herbert is not feeling well, so he's going to do a next picture with her.
Brianna McDonald. Tamika McKenzie. Brad McPhee. Diane Saint Bernard. Diane Saint Bernard. Javel Moraine.
2 absent. 50, 52 absent.
Javez Newton. Ethan Phillip. Ethan Phillip. The Vanya Regis. The Vanya Regis. Ashley Roden. Kamaya Richards. Michaela Roberts. Teresha Samuel. Kayla Sandy. Teresha Sebastian. Director Michelle, thank you very much for assisting us here today, sir. We now like to invite from the Ministry of Education, Mr. Pearson Stroud. As we continue the final batch of presentations, Delissa Simon. Josiah Smart. Javon St. Louis. Sabrina St. Paul. Tamaya Thomas. Tamaya Thomas.
67 is on the way. If you call and she's not, she's on the way.
Shanelia Tillock. Chanel Tillock. That's great. Thank you very much. Jordan Williams. Shamar Williams. Donique Williams. Dino Williams. Sean Williams. Abigail Williams. Ronnie Williams. Thank you very much, Mrs. Stroud. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 4 persons who should have been here, but due to circumstances beyond their control are not here. We still like to mention them because they are and they will be receiving their awards. Kazim Ned, Angel Pascal, Michaela St. Hilaire, and Jada Thomas. Will you please put your hands together? And also put your hands together for all 75 persons. Congratulations to you. And as I said, as much given, even more is expected. We are very confident and we are assured that you will all make us very, very proud. At this time, we'd like to invite a very outstanding individual, beautiful young lady. I met her a few moments ago. Quite pleasant, quite pleasing, kind of shy. So I'm going to ask of you to be patient with her. Richie, can I have the elevation? She's extremely talented, brilliant young lady, and she's going to make a few remarks on behalf of all the 75 students present here. I'd like you to please put your hands together as we welcome her. Stand by her side just in case she needs my assistance. I know that she doesn't. She's a brilliant young lady. Miss Kamaya Richards, please come forward. Where is she? She will speak on behalf of all the students here and make us all very, very proud. Once again, put your hands together for this beautiful young lady.
Is it
Hmm?
Then good morning to all. I would like to say a huge thank you to God first and foremost for his unfailing love and favor. A special thank you to the Keith Mitchell Foundation for providing these scholarships, for it is the best thing that can happen to our academical journeys. This scholarship covers all possible financial hurdles that we would have faced that may in some way hinder our abilities to reach our full potential. As a result, we will be able to focus on our education, our future, and the future of our country. With this scholarship, I stand a greater chance of being the first in my family to attend college. I promise to acknowledge the sacrifice and to do my utmost best and to overcome every challenge to ensure success is acquired. So thanks again to everyone who worked tirelessly to put this together for the benefit of the nation's children, like myself and peers. A special thank you to our Prime Minister, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, for his heartfelt consideration. It is wholeheartedly appreciated. Thank you.
Let's put your hands together again, please. I told you she could have done it. I told you so. Watch your face. Watch your face. Watch your face. Remember the name. Great things are expected from this young lady. Okay? Great things are expected from this young lady. Thank you very much, my dear. You're beautiful. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just about the time to say thank you. I know earlier in the program, Hermione did quite a detailed list of the persons who I'm sure, and she kind of slipped it. And what I can do is ask Richie to just replay it, but we won't do that. We won't. But I think we just like to say thank you very much. It's been a fantastic morning. It's something that I look forward to. I think it's so very important of what is happening here. And it's not only here, but also I mentioned what Sir Royston Hopkins has been doing for many, many years. It's important that we invest right here in the youngsters to secure our future. And on behalf of all the persons, the Prime Minister had to leave a bit early because of matters of national importance. He had to slip away, and He would not be with us for the group shot that will be taken after, but other directors and persons will do so. I beg you to be a part of. Again, parents, you have a responsibility. Hold on to it dearly. Do not take this for granted. Urge your kids on. We have seen the examples here, and there's so much that you can do. And if you need help, you know who to call, where to go, who to speak to ensure the success of these 75 youngsters, to ensure the success of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. It goes way beyond just 75 students. It's about this country. It's about the Jean Augustines of the world who can leave here from humble beginnings and reach to the very heights in a first world country. That's what it's all about. That is the message here today. That's why it's so important. That's why it's so important. It's all about starting from nothing and taking an ordinary 8-bedroom property to a 6-diamond resort ranked among the very best in the, not in Grenada, not in the Caribbean, but in the world. That's what it's all about. That's the examples, that's the message that is being sent here today. And you 75 students, we entrust in you to continue to do well. Listen to your parents. Study hard. Listen to your teachers. When in doubt, ask. Please, we put our future in your hands. Again, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Keith Mitchell Foundation, we thank you very, very much. Refreshments will be served on the outside. The directors and the students will have the opportunity of having a group photo to the front. Again, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing more students next year. Thank you, thank you, thank you.